So I've been experimenting with the smoke particles, and I'm pretty satisfied with the smoke to draw the player's attention back towards my volcano. At least as a placeholder, I think that this is an appropriate point of interest. And so what I'll do is I'll take that smoke and I'm just going to tuck it down into my volcano so that it's coming out of my volcano. Now, there are a couple of things that are really bothering me at this point. I can run my simulation, I can look off into the distance, and in a moment here I'll start to see the smoke. And again, as a placeholder, that looks pretty good. Obviously I need to do some work on my volcano, the texturing, and I want to kind of refine the size and the shape of it. But I have the basic nuts and bolts of my island coming together. But one of the things that's really bothering me is when I look up into the sky is like a perfect blue. There's no information in the sky, and that's really starting to bother me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle my play button off, and I'm going to just either click on this play button, and I don't like how that the mouse view ends up influencing my simulation. I choose to use the Command P to toggle that play button off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a skybox into the equation. And Unity's done a fine job with providing us with some basic skyboxes here. So I'm just going to go into my assets, my standard assets, and I'm going to reveal my skyboxes. And I have a number of skyboxes that I can play with. I can just read the title and get a sense of what these are. I have a dawn to dusk, an eerie sky, and if I need a little bit more information, I can click on that asset and it gives me an idea of the kind of information that I'm going to look at. So I'll just experiment and add one of these, and the way that you add a skybox is a little less intuitive than some of the other things that we've done inside Unity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Edit pull-down menu and I'm going to choose Render Settings. And from Render Settings, we have access to a couple of the things that happen at render time. So this is, as we're rendering in real time, we have these options. And one of the options that we need to apply is a skybox material. If I look in this field, I see it says Skybox, Material None, and I have two options here. I could click on this little bullet over to the right of the Skybox Material None, and that'll present me with all the things that I could possibly load as a skybox. And so it's not doing a very good job of filtering out the different skybox assets. So what I prefer to do is click on the skybox folder inside the standard assets folder, and then choose Edit Render Settings. And then with a click and a drag, it's click and drag. I'll just click, drag, and drop that onto the Skybox Material None field. And once I release that, it'll load a texture into, or it'll load a skybox, a series of textures into my skybox material. Now, in the event that you click to select the skybox, you will lose the render settings. That's why I emphasize the fact that it was a click and drag motion, because you do lose focus on that inspector panel. Because it's contextually sensitive, it'll present you with whatever the information is that you selected on last. So I want to choose Edit, Render Settings, and then choose to drag and drop the appropriate skybox material. If that's kind of a clumsy, klutzy move, you can temporarily lock the inspector window, or really any window for that matter. And now that I've clicked on this little lock here, I can see that my inspector is now locked to the render settings, and I can click around and select any one of these, and that will not update. So when I want it to function by default, I'll just unlock it, and then it'll revert back to the contextually sensitive menu. But at this point, I've chosen to edit render settings, and I've loaded in the Starry Night skybox, which is not the one that I wanted to use. I'll try this Sunny 2. I'll drop that, and when I hit play this time around, when I hit play, now I see that I have a skybox, and the skybox is pretty effective to help really refine the environment that we're looking at. So I'll turn my simulation off. In addition to that, under render settings, you might have discovered that we have the ability to turn on fog. And fog can be kind of an interesting thing, particularly when we're trying to establish an atmosphere off in the distance. And just by turning on fog, we can set a basic fog color. We have the ability to manipulate the density and the distance, the beginning and end distance of the fog. And so just with the default values, when I turn this on, you can see that I end up with a really foggy environment, which is not what I want. I'll turn that off, and I'll push the fog start distance way off into the distance to about 150 meters. And now you can start to see that you know, it's still way too close. So maybe I'll push this off to maybe like 1,000 meters, and we'll end it, say 1,500 meters. That might be too far, but no, looks like it's still pretty close. So, but you get the idea. I think you know, this fog is a little too dense. It's still a little too close because I'm actually losing information off into the distance. But this is a variable that you might want to experiment with as well to see if you can really kind of enhance the environment that you're looking at. But for now, I'm just going to turn my fog back off because I do pay a penalty when it comes to render time and performance to explore my environment. So those are just a few things that you can do to really start to enhance your scene. So I'm going to offline continue to refine my environment just a bit. I'm going to reference my map and really try to describe some different environments. I'll take a walk around my island and I'll move my first person camera to these points that I'm spending some time working on, and I'll really try to you know, really get my island roughed out according to my sketch and try to just add a little bit of nuance here. In the next presentation, we'll talk about some additional terrain tools that give us the ability to add rocks and trees and grass that blows in the wind to continue to enhance our terrain. And then at that point, I think we'll have enough information to describe our maps, and we'll push forward with the scripting and interactive component to this project. So we'll catch up in the next presentation and kind of wrap up the terrain asset tools, and we'll do that in the next presentation.